Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening around the world. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Blackjack. As always, today we are doing a YouTube comment section deck tech for you guys. If you are interested in having me build a deck for you, put it on the channel, make a video about it, maybe give you some inspiration, help you find a couple tweaks for a current deck, or build something entirely new, in the comment section down below, I'm looking for any combination of the following metrics: a theme, a budget, pet cards, and a commander you're looking for, and I'd be happy to put it together for you. Today, we have a request by the user Alec Yeager on YouTube. Said, I have very fond memories of playing Mono Blue Tempo in 2019. That was a great time to be playing Magic. Autumn Burchett ended up winning the Mythic Championship piloting the deck. They wanted to build something very closely aligned to that. A deck that includes cards like Curious Obsession, Tempest Djinn, any form of a creature tempo game plan. So, originally, their idea was the reality chip, which, in my opinion, I thought was a little bit too control oriented, and Illuge the Shoreless Sea. The reason I didn't go with Illuge the Shoreless Sea is it was more of Illuge was going to be the one and only win con. It was going to be difficult to actually take three players out of the game with a luge. The deck that I went with, that I think fits the bill for tempo but gives you a good chance of winning, is Alandra Skydreamer. So when you draw your second card each turn, you make a 2/2 blue Drake token with flying. And then when you draw your fifth card each turn, you or Alandra and all Drakes you control get plus X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. So ideally, every turn you're gonna draw two cards at least. You're gonna always be making an extra Drake on your turns, and then the mid to late game, after you've tempoed out the rest of the table, you can start taking one player down at a time by having this big rush of card draw all at the same time. Be able to give 4 or 5 Drakes, plus 10, and just take one player out of the game, and then go back to kind of handling everything, tempoing everybody out, and then do that again another turn in the future. So, Alandra. Next, we have Teferi, Master of Time. It's the only Planeswalker in here. It was pretty easy for me to add this one just because, again, its plus is simply draw a card. So anything that just draws an extra card turn after turn is going to be great for us. It's going to be consistent ways to make that second Drake. We have a pretty small creature package. We have Archmage Emeritus, which obviously whenever you cast an instant sorcery, you get to draw a card. We have Archmage of Runes, which, let me see if I can make this bigger for you guys. That might be too big. There we go. We have Archmage of Runes, which makes our stuff cheaper, and then we draw a card when we cast stuff. Brawl makes stuff cheaper, and then if we counter something, we may draw and discard. Curiosity Crafter is no maximum hand size, which is great for us. And then whenever a creature token deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. We have Alandra to make creature tokens. We have Min, and we have Talrand. I would say those are our three main creatures that we're interested in getting out and then protecting with our tempo pieces and our control pieces and utilizing them to kind of overwhelm the board. So even if this only is affecting your commander, there's a good chance you're going to be drawing at least one extra card a turn, if not more. Min, we just talked about. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, you make a 1/1 illusion. With this creature gets +1/+0 for each illusion you control. The second part is not really important, but just the ability to, again, whenever we're drawing our second card, making a creature is good for us. Osier. So flying, whenever you cast a spell from your hand, an instant or sorcery, it gains rebound, and then when it dies, you can return it flipped with time counters. And nothing super crazy here, but the most important thing is it's a recurable threat. It stays around, and it makes all of our spells happen twice, which is awesome. Talrand we talked about, just another version of our current Talrand in the command zone. In fact, if you were interested in swapping the commander out, this is probably the one I would do it with because the idea is still the same. I like the fact that with these cards, it feels more tempo to me. It feels more you deal with something on the board, but you're also gaining advantage for yourself. Whereas Illuge was more of one dimensional, this is my single creature that's going to try to take out all three players, which felt like an impossible hill to climb, or the reality chip, which to me, it's a 0-4 that for sure just plays a control game in my mind. Wave Break Hippocamp. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, draw a card. Sorceries, not many. We want to, as you can see, live in the instance. So we do have Gitaxian Probe. You can just pay 2 life to look at a player's hand and draw a card. This can be surprisingly useful to look at whoever you deem the most interactive player at the table, see what they're up to, get an idea of how you're going to have to sculpt your game plan moving forward. Lorien Revealed, been a great card since release. It sees play in a lot of regular formats. Here I think it's good to just act as another land, as well as, excuse me, at some point in the game you can also just grab Mystic Sanctuary. Seagate Restoration is an MDFC, so you can play it as a land if you need to, but ideally, you know, we don't, again, I'll stress, when I say tempo, tempo also means to me cheap. So cheap interaction is what tempo means. So we do have a few spells that cost a ton of mana like this. Obviously, you can also play this as a land, but we don't have many. Most of our spells are living between like the 1 and 3 mana slot, so that way we can be doing multiple things a turn and actually gaining tempo. But being able to, again, as we talked about at the very beginning of the deck tech, slam this down mid to late game, draw 8 cards, have no maximum hand size, and then just take a player out is kind of how I foresee the mid to end game playing out for this deck. Extra life, it's the only tutor I put in here. I'm not always a fan of tutors in casual, but I think this one's fine because it's not, search the library for anything. It's just an instant or sorcery. So more often than not, to me, I think that's fair. Windfall is good here because, again, a big a big garner of cards in one turn is what's going to allow us to take a player out of the game. So this is just kind of a cheap version of Seagate Restoration. So our interaction suite. Again, most stuff's going to be between 1 and 3 mana because that's what I consider tempo. We do have some bigger spells to deal with the table at large if things get out of hand before we get set up, like Aetherize, which is just bouncing all attacking creatures that are on his hands. Counter suite, we have Offer, Arcane Denial, Archmage Charm, which can obviously do more than counter. Counter Spell, Force and Negation, Negate, Rewind, and the Wizard's Retort, I believe, is the whole package. So this is a deck, and again, when you're playing tempo, you don't really care about countering other people's spells unless they're just winning the game outright. You're using this to protect your commander and ensure that you are always making drakes. We have Blue Sun Zenith, another big mid to late game card draw to kind of end the game quickly. Brainstorm draws 3 cards, so for its rate, it's incredible. Brain Surge is just a bit worse version of that, but it will trigger Alandra because you draw 1 for your turn, and then Brain Surge will allow you to draw 4, so this will actually activate the second ability. Consider, we do have just a little suite of quick card draw, quick selection. Dive Down, so this is something that they were specifically looking for. Cards like these are what allowed Autumn to win the Mythic Championship with Mono Blue Tempo. I love these cards in here because it's essentially a counter spell for your commander, but it only costs 1 blue mana. So if somebody goes to, Doomblade your commander, instead of using a counterspell, you can simply dive down Alandra and give them hexproof and save them at a much better rate and still hold up counterspells. So more often than not, spells like dive down, glint, Mizium skin are great tempo pieces because they're cheap and they do also have kind of a dual purpose where they can protect our stuff, but they're also acting as essentially a counterspell. Flow of knowledge, another way for us to kind of just overwhelm and take out a player. Force of negation, a great counterpiece. Frantic search, drawing. We have opt. Perplexing test is a hopefully a one-sided board wipe where we're bouncing all non-tokens. So we get to keep all those drakes we're making, all those illusions we're making, and everybody else loses everything, at least creature-wise. Pognify, rapid hybridization. There are going to be times where there's creatures that we have to remove from the battlefield that are just having too big of an impact on us. Pull from Tomorrow is another one of those big draw a bunch of cards and try to end the game spells. Sink into Stupor and MDFC that allows you to bounce something or just play a land if you need to make your land drop. Snap is probably to me the most quintessential tempo piece in Magic that you would see on a normal basis. It returns a creature to its owner's hand and then it untaps 2 lands. So it essentially costs nothing because you're untapping the 2 that you put into casting it and you're bouncing a creature. So you're getting a very cheap rate, effectively 0, to have something impact the board. Swan Song, I think we missed this the first time around we talked about counterspells. Another counterspell. Thirst for Discovery, drawing multiple cards. 3 steps ahead, it can be a counter, it can also be card draw. And then Tolarian Winds is another way to draw a ton of cards all at the same time. Artifacts, we put in, I believe, let's see here, Arcane Signets 1, Cold Steel Hearts 2, Felwar Stone 3, Torque 4, Mind Stone 5, Sapphire Medallion 6, Sky Diamond 7, Soul Rain 8, Star Compass 9, Thought Vessel 10. So it's very, very important you get your commander out on turn 3 every single game consistently. If I were you, the rest of the deck is so consistent at doing the same thing, I would probably be willing to like mulligan to 5 at a casual table to ensure that I had 2 to 3 lands and at least one of my 2 mana rocks to always hit my commander on turn 3. I think it's that important to the game plan. You have Bident of Thassa for card draw. In addition to Bident of Thassa, we're also playing Coastal Piracy and Reconnaissance Mission. So whenever a creature you control deals damage, you essentially draw a card. This is great reusable card advantage over time. And when we're making drakes, it's going to be amazing to have out on the battlefield. Commander's Plate is probably just the best piece of protection you can get for your commander. It's going to have pro white, black, green, red, +3/+3. So it's just kind of hard to argue with what it does for you. Isochron Scepter. In a deck like this, you can throw a Brainstorm under it and have consistent drawing 3 extra cards on your turn. You can put a counterspell under it. You can put a dive down under it. The world is your oyster with this spell, or with this artifact, kind of whatever you deem important in any given game, but no matter what, it's always going to be awesome for you to have on the field, and it's always going to do its job. Swiftfoot Boots, notably no Lightning Greaves. We don't have a ton of creatures that we care about protecting, it's really just our commander, and we also don't want to give our commander Shroud, because then we can't target it with things like Mizium Skin, with things like Glint, with things like Dive Down, because it has Shroud. So it's important that we don't keep it from ourselves, if that makes sense. So we're just playing Swiftfoot Boots here, but you could easily add Lightning Greaves if you wanted to. Enchantments, we already talked about the main card draw ones. Curious Obsession is awesome. Goes without saying that this is one of the cards that they were looking for, and I agree. It's an awesome card. It's something that's going to give you consistent card draw every single turn. Mystic Remora, consistent card draw. Wizard class, having no maximum hand size is going to be good here, but then also just drawing cards and having counters if you end up leveling this up. And then finally, Proph's Eidetic Memory. It's again going to be a way for us to have no maximum hand size and then be able to bump up one of our creatures. Lands, pretty simple. Castle Vantress, 26 islands, Mirrored Landscape, Mystic Sanctuary, Nykthos, Otawara, Reliquary Tower, Riptide Laboratory, which is cool, Terrain Generator, 3 Tree City, and War Room. So, they did say budget wasn't a factor. I I didn't really build with budget in mind, but I also built it easygoing, casual. I did kind of give you some sideboard slots here to think about. Obviously, a lot of these are game changers. Back to Basics is probably better than all of these cards in this deck, but I guess it's not considered a game changer. It is what it is. Um, if you wanted to scale this deck up to be more impactful, more scary, this is definitely the first place I would go. Adding these 5 cards would significantly scale the power level in my mind and bring you from, a 2.5 to 3 casual. I mean, I don't know how the new system works. Let's just say it would bring this deck from like a 6 to like a 7.5 in my mind. By adding cards like this, it would really turn up the heat. So if you did want to scale it up, this is where I would start. I just didn't do it because if I were to build this deck, I would not add these cards unless I talked to my table first and I wanted the deck to specifically be more powerful. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's not the commander you were looking for, but in my opinion, at least for the kind of way I like to build decks, this gave me more of a tempo vibe than a luge or reality chip. But obviously, it wouldn't be particularly difficult for you to take Alandra out, maybe take out Min and Curiosity Crafter, and then you could kind of just slide in a luge or reality chip and then like 3 or 4 of the cards in the sideboard slot, and it would pretty much all serve the same purpose, and I think you'd kind of end up in the same place. So totally up to you. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it. As always, Godspeed.